good afternoon. Thank you all so much for attending today's third series, or third training rather, in the disaster preparedness webinar series. So today we have informal weather outreach education with Eric Solana.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Nick. And good afternoon, everyone. Pleasure to be a part of the program today. So again, my name is Eric Solana. I'm a meteorologist and Associate Director of Education Outreach at Florida International University and the Extreme Events Institute. So I'm going to share with you today a lot of information. Don't get overwhelmed. First thing, you will get a copy of this PowerPoint. So all the slides that have links and ideas and suggestions, you'll be able to get a copy of it. But as I go through the information, I'm hoping that it'll trigger some creative ideas, some thoughts, some questions. Some of what I may be showing you today may be a review. Many of you may be doing some of the things that I'm going to mention today with regards to hazard planning and so on, which is great. So hoping though that in the presentation, there'll be maybe something new for you, hadn't seen before, hadn't thought about before. And so the whole purpose, right, is to grow and to share best practices and so on. So as Nick already mentioned, please share your questions in the chat. And looking forward to a lively conversation with Q&A after my presentation. So as I go through the slides, you may want to jot down just a few notes about a slide or two. Again, don't worry about getting the details off the slide because I'll be moving through them. I'm going to purposely wanted to show a variety of information today for you. So. All right, with that being said, you can see my personal information there, email and phone number as well. And of course, we're on social media if you want to follow us, the Extreme Events Institute at FIU. Next slide. And of course, I'm on LinkedIn if you want to follow me there, or my account on X. And just a few things. Next slide. I want to mention about FIU. We are part of the 12-member state university system of the state of Florida, located in Miami, Florida International University. It's been a growing school since I've been here for almost 15 years. It's exploded. It's a big place. And it is a majority minority institution, very diverse, predominantly Hispanic. We're recognized as an R1 research university. And since we are growing over 58,000 students, believe it or not, we're the 7th largest public university in the nation. So that's how big FIU is. So everyone's learning more and more about all the great things we're doing. Next slide. So specifically where I'm at, the Extreme Events Institute, the International Hurricane Research Center, we are hurricane focused on our research. We do research related to insurance modeling, the Florida Public Hurricane Loss Model, and then storm surge modeling. Next slide. And I want to mention this to all of you. This is a project that's finishing up. It was funded by the Mellon Foundation. So we do a lot of science research. This was more social science research. Commons for Justice, and that's the website. So everything we did is on that website, and we worked with 8 underserved communities in Miami, and we spent a lot of time with them on talking about how they can be ready for the next storm and the challenges that they face. So lots of things is on that website if you want to check it out. Next slide. Okay, we are also a storm ready university. So this is something, if you're not storm ready, this is through the National Weather Service and NOAA. If you want to get involved, you can go to their website or contact your local National Weather Service office and talk about being storm ready if you would like to get that designation and what it would take to get that. Next slide. And we are also a Weather Ready Nation ambassador. So you can go to NOAA, Weather Ready Nation Ambassador, look at that program. There's no cost to be an ambassador, but having that logo, and if you're doing activities related to natural hazard planning, you could be an ambassador, and you can see who in your community is an ambassador already, because your local National Weather Service office will have a running list, and you'll see who else is involved. Next slide. All right, so a quick question here at the top. Are there natural disasters occurring across the United States and around the world? And I ask this, when I talk to groups, and of course you would think the obvious answer is yes, but next slide, I put on there the answer of no. And so now you're wondering, Eric, what do you mean no? Well, next slide. Read the top two lines. There are no natural disasters. There are only natural hazards. So a bit of a trick question. We all say natural disasters, the term, but trying to make a point here. Number one, natural hazards occur all the time, but they only become disasters when they collide with our human, physical, and economic systems. We've built our towns and cities where natural hazards occur. So the term puts too much blame on nature, not enough on how and where we've built our communities and how we've created our own exposures and vulnerabilities. Next slide. So for example, here in the state of Florida, we are the third most populous state in the country and still growing. And we are the hurricane capital of the country. So is this a collision waiting to happen? And of course, the answer there is yes, and it has been happening in recent years with Hurricane Milton and Ian, and their billion-dollar hits because of the population we have. Next slide. So it has to do to what's called the risk equation. Insurance industry knows of this equation. This is the one that's been created by Dr. Rich Olson, who's been the director of the Extreme Events Institute here at FIU. If you go to our website, you can learn all about it. But essentially, the left-hand side is the end result of the right-hand side, which H is the hazard. And it's all dependent upon how much exposure there is and the vulnerability of a community. Having to do, meaning how well are they planned? What are their best practices? What are their building codes? And so on. Next slide. So for example, here in Florida, let's take an example, Hurricane Irma as a hazard. Next slide. And we've done a lot with our building codes. That's the V, vulnerability. So you can see a home that was not really damaged after Irma, built in 2014, older homes on either side. Next slide. Another example, Hurricane Michael that hit the Panhandle back in 2018. Next slide. You'll see a similar picture. Newer homes still standing, older homes are blown or washed away. So we see this time and time again, and the message here is that building codes work, and this is how we can make more communities more resilient. Next slide. So part of that messaging comes to our research here at the Wall of Wind. These are 12 giant fans, and you see that behind me as well. We can create up to Category 5 hurricane conditions. We test structures for their resilience. We're going to show you a short video now that will tell you an overview of the Wall of Wind. And I'll mention here with this slide is that we are part of a national network of experimental facilities through NSF and the Nahiri network that deals with all natural hazards. And we're specifically on wind. And next slide. And this is where we'll show you the video.
The Neary Wall of Wind at Florida International University is an NSF-funded facility that enables researchers to better understand wind effects on civil infrastructure systems in order to prevent wind hazards from becoming community disasters. The Neary WOW experimental facility is powered by a combined 12-fan system capable of repeatable testing in up to 157 mile-per-hour wind speeds. One advantage of the facility is the multi-scale and high Reynolds number simulation using 12 fans and a water spray system, which demonstrates the effects of wind and wind-driven rain. The 16,000 square foot fenced off secure area enables researchers to plan and perform destructive tests for up to Category 5 hurricane wind speeds. Using a wide range of equipment, instrumentation, and experimental simulation protocols, the distinguished group of faculty, staff, and the well-trained team of technical and operations personnel are ready to support your world-class research. The Wall of Wind offers the following testing: high-speed holistic testing with simulated wind speeds, including Category 5 hurricane; destructive tests to study failure modes; wind-driven rain simulation to study water intrusion; full and large-scale aerodynamic aeroelastic testing in atmospheric boundary layer flows; extreme environment testing to develop innovative mitigation devices; and conventional boundary layer wind tunnel testing. If you are interested in learning more about the resources at the NERI FIU Wall of Wind Experimental Facility and how they can support your research, contact Arindam Chowdhury.
Okay, so that was a video showing an overview of our operations. We'll go ahead and start this video. There's no audio, so I'll just kind of voice over what you're going to see. This was a demonstration for the media. So this was not a specific research project, but it was to demonstrate how the value of mitigation and what we do to strengthen a home works. And so the media, they always want to see Hollywood and they want to see something, blown up and blown out the door. And we said, okay, we can do that for sure, but we want to also have a teachable moment. We want to show how buildings can be, less damaged. So this is the structure. We had a strong side that had metal shutters and roof tie downs, those metal straps in the attic, if you will. And there was a weak side that did not have those mitigation features. So we hit the strong side of the building first. Nothing happened. That was our teachable moment, that these mitigation measures kept the building together. We turned it around to the other side and watch what happens. Catastrophic failure. So it shows you now dramatically what can happen to a building, the building envelope, if the window openings are not protected, the roof is not tied down, and how the roof flies out and the debris flies everywhere. So mission accomplished. The media got what they wanted. They wanted this Hollywood dramatic effect, but we got what we wanted, that teachable moment, that mitigation works and building codes are very important. And look how far that roof had flown. Okay, very good. We can advance to the next slide then. All right, we are not just hurricane. We also do what's called downburst winds. So you can see that circulation, and downburst winds come from severe thunderstorms and actually do a lot of damage across the country. So we can add that enhancement to also do downburst testing. Okay, next slide. And so all of this has to do, when you talk about wind engineering and physics and pressures, positive and negative pressures, that's what wind engineers and architects take into consideration with a building envelope. Next slide. Through our testing, we all know roof shape is a big deal. Which one is most aerodynamic? And we've learned the HIP is the most aerodynamic, the way the wind flows over it. So new construction in Florida, they're being built with hip-shaped roofs. Next slide. And on the campus here at FIU, we have this building. It's the National Hurricane Center and the National Weather Service Miami office. Next slide. And I always like to ask, look at that building. What building material was used? Well, the answer is concrete. They cannot blow away. They're right on our campus. They have a huge responsibility to forecast our hurricanes 24/7 around the clock, and they need to be resilient. Now, we're not saying everyone should be built like a bunker with concrete, but stronger materials do make a difference. And thank goodness they haven't been tested yet here. Next slide. So we're getting to wind mitigation. So the math says this, and this is a poster child of mitigation. This home that was in the upper Texas coast, Hurricane Rita came, it was damaged. The owner did not leave. He rebuilt Code Plus. 2008, Hurricane Ike came, and the home is still there. So it shows you these techniques work. So every dollar we spend on mitigation saves at least $6 in damage and cleanup. So it's the way the country needs to move when it comes to being more resilient. Next slide. And if you want to check where your state rates in terms of building codes, IBHS, they're a great organization. You go to their website and they have this rating the states. So for the coastal states, where does your state rate when it comes to building codes? Next slide. So for examples, we go to our attic here in Florida. We see hurricane straps that holds the roof down. They're very inexpensive. Next slide. Garage doors is a big deal. It's the largest opening in a home. Next slide. So we now have code approved. That's my garage door where I live here in South Florida. A code approved missile impacted garage door. Next slide. Flying debris, very dangerous. This is Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico. Next slide. So that's why we cover our windows. So that's why it's so important. Plywood is still widely used, but it can, if it's not put up correctly, it can blow off, blow away, become flying debris, or something traveling at over 100 miles an hour can penetrate that. So metal shutters is the way to go. Next slide. And of course, still there's education outreach out there regarding tape. People still use tape. But tape does nothing to protect a window. We have to stop that, but it's still being used because we all used to do it years ago, but now we know better. Next slide. Moving into the Midwest and so on, we not only hold our roof down with hurricane straps, but we anchor our walls to our slabs. This is an example of a storm that moved through a community and the house just literally moves off the slab. Next slide. But if you anchor those walls to the slab, it'll stay in place. So it's just simple things can make a big difference. Next slide. If a storm is coming, and whether a hurricane or tornado, you want to be in the safe place in the middle of your home, but close all your interior doorways, closets, bathrooms, and go. Next slide. And that interior room away from exterior walls and windows is that safe room, but close all your interior doors as well. Next slide. And so what anyone can do, no matter where you live, you can get a wind mitigation inspection. So you could have a certified inspector come out, look at where and how you can strengthen your home, and then develop your own mitigation plan as well. Next slide. Here in the state of Florida, Florida has been proactive in many different ways, and they've had a program called My Safe Florida Home where they've been giving out grant money to homeowners to mitigate. The list is very long, and they're focused on people right now that lower income and seniors right now to get them mitigated, and then they may expand from there, but it's been a very popular program, and it's an example for other states to follow. Next slide. And again, back to IBHS, the Fortified Roof Program. If you're going to change your roof, get a new roof, you can fortify it, and they have all the information. Next slide. And the current wall of wind, I just showed you that video. We go to 157 miles per hour, category 5. Well, guess what? We are now in the process of designing a future new system that'll go to 180 miles per hour and have a big wave tank that will then create wave action and storm surge. So if you go to Niche, N-I-C-H-E, there's the webpage site. You'll get updates on that. Next slide. And so again, we're in the design process right now. It'll be a very large system, and it's still a good probably 7-8 years away, but we'll keep you posted. Next slide. And it's not just FIU, it's an all-star lineup of 8 other universities and their wind engineering teams. Next slide. So that system will then be able to create the Hurricane Dorians of the world, which came very close to Florida with 185-mile-per-hour winds that parked itself over the Bahamas. But right now, we go to 157, we can create a Hurricane Andrew. But in the future, that new system will be able to create these much stronger storms that we're seeing now and add in the storm surge hazard. Next slide. Okay, where are we at in this hurricane season? Well, 2025, we've gotten through Ferdinand. Ferdinand on the list. I hope we don't see any more names on this list. But the season's not over. It's been quiet moving into September, thank goodness. Next slide. But the season obviously is not over. We still have the rest of September and October. It's still quiet out there. My tropical weather update right now, there's nothing of anything that's suspicious. There's one area in the far eastern Atlantic that the Hurricane Center will start watching into next week. And next slide. And we hope it turns. Steering currents. The last few storms, Erin, which was a monster storm, curved. And it has to do with steering currents in the Bermuda High. And so we hope that the steering currents remain favorable to keep these storms curving. And we hope there aren't that many more storms that we even have on the list. We shall see, but stay informed. Next slide. Okay, if there is a storm, we all see the forecast cone. And we always talk about, well, what is the cone? How is it created? Because there's a lot of misuse of the phone, or not, the public doesn't always understand it. Next slide. But it's basically created by a suite of computer models, let's say 10 to 12, and they're not one is going to predict the track most accurately. So they have to circle all the models and you get the cone. So that means there's uncertainty and a margin of error, but it is what it is with the cone. Next slide. But what the Hurricane Center wants us to continue to understand, it doesn't, cone only shows location. It doesn't show the hazards. Next slide. So they want us to go to the National Hurricane Center website and look at the hazard graphics, storm surge, wind, and so on, heavy rain. That's what we need to focus on, not just the cone. Next slide. And so they are using an experimental cone. You'll see the usual cone if there's a storm this season, but you'll see a little link above the cone on the National Hurricane Center website. And if you click on it, it'll take you to this experimental cone. And they're doing public research survey. They want to know the public, what do you think of this potential new cone where they put watches and warning hazard information on top of the cone? Next slide. And also over the years, this is a real handy dandy key messages. So if there's a storm out there, there's a lot of information, but for each storm, the National Hurricane Center will bring all that information together into what's called key messages. And that's very helpful. Next slide. And if there is a storm, they will do live streams from the National Hurricane Center roughly at 11:30 in the morning and 5:30 in the afternoon. Next slide. And you should also go to your local National Weather Service office. For us, it's in Miami. Next slide. Because they will then take those general graphics from the Hurricane Center and narrow the scope of those graphics just for your community, your area, your region. And for us, it'd be South Florida. So more details. And the media will do that as well. Next slide. So a couple of questions here. So every community has a local National Weather Service office. So number one, do you have their website wherever you live in the United States? Do you have your local Weather Service office website saved as one of your favorites? And does your organization, do you have a relationship with your local National Weather Service office? Next slide. And don't forget NOAA Weather Radio. These have been around for a long time. They almost seem like old school, but they still work. They're still valuable. They run on battery, and all the watches and warnings can come by weather radio. It would be another tool in your toolbox to let you know when severe weather is approaching. Next slide. And focus on reliable sources. These tweets, just came out in the last few months by our local National Weather Service office here in Miami, talking about the danger of social media and incorrect information. They stress, make sure you get information from reliable sources. Next slide. And you want to avoid, look what they said, social media alarmism, because you'll have people going online and putting information out there, and that's not accurate, or it's too far into the future, and it's just not good for the community to be seeing things on social media that are exaggerating the potential risk. Next slide. And this just came out from Michael Lowry. He's a hurricane specialist for local WPLG, Channel 10 here in Miami. I thought this was an interesting quote. You'll see very long-range computer model simulations beyond 7 or 10 days shared on social media that suggest a major hurricane strike on the U.S. These are what I like to call fantasyland scenarios, imaginative and often scary depictions inflamed by chaos theory and unfortunately used irresponsibly to stoke fear and promote likes and engagement. Those were his thoughts. But he's, again, going along with the Weather Service. Be careful what you're seeing on social media. Next slide. Okay, Hurricane Center did all the research and realized what's not killing people is not the wind, it's the water, storm surge and rain. Next slide. So storm surge, this is what a coastal community will look like as the storm approaches. Next slide. So several years ago, they came out with storm surge watches and warnings. This is still relatively new compared to hurricane watches and warnings, which have been around for a long time. But people are still learning the significance of how serious a storm surge watch and warning is if it's issued for your coast. Next slide. So everyone needs to know where they're going to go if they're going to evacuate. That's part of a plan if you live in a hurricane area. Next slide. And of course, every local emergency management, if you live in a coastal zone, will have evacuation, storm surge maps. You want to know your zone and know if you're in a zone or not to be evacuated. And then therefore, you need to know where you're going to go. Next slide. So this is Hurricane Ian a few years ago. They hit Southwest Florida. Strong storm and brought in a lot of storm surge. Next slide. It was forecasted very well, but a lot of people did not evacuate. Why? Well, there's still lots of ongoing social science research related to human behavior and communications. We still need to motivate people to go when they need to go. Next slide. And when it comes to preparedness, sometimes, depending on what region where you live, if you haven't been hit with a severe weather event in a long time, the cancers are complacency, apathy, amnesia, sometimes the finances, that's a reality, or many years since a landfall or no prior experience. Next slide. Flooding, a big issue. National Weather Service says, turn around, don't drown. Next slide. It doesn't take a lot of water to move a vehicle. You want to be very, very careful about that. Next slide. And everyone needs to consider flood insurance. It's not part of your homeowner's policy for your home insurance. It's an extra policy. And you need to talk with your insurance agent to talk about if it makes sense for you to get flood insurance. Many folks do not have it when they really should. And so strongly encourage everyone to look into that. Next slide. And it's not the storm that kills people, it's after the storm. And a lot of research has been done on this. This is how people hurt or kill themselves after a storm, traffic accidents, cleaning up, getting on their roof after it's been damaged and falling off the roof, carbon monoxide poisoning, lack of medical care, post-heat, cardiac related. Next slide. So there's still the safety campaign about generators. They're great to have power in your home, but the carbon monoxide gas is deadly. So you should never run it inside a home. You would think that's common sense, but there's still examples where that doesn't happen. Next slide. And when the power goes out, flashlights are better than candles. I talk to the kids all the time because candles cause fires, and we still have a lot of house fires after a major event. Next slide. So when it comes to planning, now is the time. And for hurricanes or tornado plan or a wildfire plan, but for your family, home, business, and seniors and special needs, the plans need to really be special for the seniors who need helping hands and special needs individuals. So that takes more time and effort. And you want to make sure if you have loved ones that have special needs, you want to make sure they're ready to go. Next slide. So an open-ended question to all of you listening today. Do you know how and when your hurricane plan activates? Or your tornado plan? Or your flood plan? Or your wildfire plan? Have you looked at it lately? And as I said, maybe many of you on today's audience, you do, you've looked at it and you're ready to go. But again, these are just reminders. Next slide. So one way to look at it, one way that I look at planning for a hurricane is a 5-day cone. Next slide. What you can do is take your to-do list and divide it up into 5 days. So you don't do everything 5 days out, but slowly but surely be ready until day 1, 24 hours before landfall. I see many plans don't activate till a watch is warning or issued or a warning. Well, for a hurricane, that's too late. You need more than 2 days to get ready. Next slide. So after landfall, for any natural hazard event, communication, power, damage estimates, returning to work, and homeless staff, how are you going to address that for members of your team? Next slide. So recommendations for hurricane is activate it when you're in the 5-day cone. You want to email everyone at day 5, let everyone know what's happening, and then start your to-do list after that, and so on and so forth. Next slide. And from the personal side, with any event it may be, you want to have a sense of compassion and understanding, because if you've gone through a flood event, tornado event, hurricane event, people will be physically, mentally, and emotionally exhausted. They'll suffer from stress, anxiety, anger, fear, frustration, depression, lack of sleep. Some may need counseling. So having an open door policy with one-on-one communications with supervisors and everyone on the team if those things come up. Next slide. And of course, here in Hurricane Prone Van, we want to make sure we have our hurricane survival kit items all ready before the storm is out there. Next slide. Emergency management. What is emergency management? What do they do? What is an emergency operations center? Now, some of you may know the answers to those things, but some people have no clue what is emergency management. Next slide. So everyone's heard of FEMA, but after FEMA, you go to state, then you go to county, and your local city, your municipality. And they're all there to help us. And knowing who they are and having a relationship with them is important. Next slide. So does your organization have an EOC, or do you go to one during an event? Do you know your local emergency management director? And do you have a good relationship with your local city or county emergency management office and the resilience office? Next slide. So for here in Miami, we have Miami-Dade County Emergency Management, provides all of this kind of information. Next slide. And they have hurricane guides. So we suggest for people living in hurricane-prone areas and they work somewhere that HR should, for new employees, should have, for their new employee packet, make sure they have a hurricane guide from the local emergency management. Next slide. And CERT, you may have heard of CERT through emergency management. It's a great way for you to get involved, the public to get involved, neighbor helping neighbor. Community Emergency Response Team, contact your local emergency management to see if they have CERT teams in your area. Next slide. And I put together some free learning modules that talks for middle school and high school. So again, you'll get these links. We will have information like this, and the kids also learn about emergency management. Next slide. So when it comes to Florida, when it comes to being ranked, well, we're number one with rip currents, waterspouts, thunderstorms, lightning, and hurricanes. And I always joke with the kids, in sports, you want to maybe be number one, but maybe not in weather. Next slide. So there's been some humor out there over the years because of where we rank. What about if we just move Florida up north? Well, I love it in Florida. Montana is a great place in the summer. I don't know about the winter. So we just need to be prepared and know what our hazard is wherever we live, and we'll be fine. Next slide. Rip currents. Over the last 10 years, rip currents have killed more people than tornadoes or hurricanes. So this is, if you live in a coastal community, this is extremely important safety information. And this diagram you will see posted at lifeguard stands. And it's good to know how to get out of a rip current. Next slide. And the National Weather Service, throughout the year, your local weather office, they may have a flood safety awareness week, a severe weather awareness week, heat safety week, lightning safety week, even winter weather awareness week. Check with your local National Weather Service when they're going to have those safety weeks, and there'll be lots of information. Next slide. For example, lightning. National Weather Service has a great website. Next slide. They say when thunder roars, go indoors. Next slide. Lightning and surge protection. Our local power company here, FPL in South Florida, they have programs. So if you have a business, a hospital, a library, and you want to look into lightning and surge protection, check it out with your facilities folks and your local power company. Next slide. Heat, right? That's another big one. Next slide. That affects more people than any one of these hazards. Next slide. And so good to know the heat safety warning signs in terms of people, getting ill from the heat. Next slide. So we at-risk populations, many of you may already know, but when we have our heat waves, the people that really need to be careful. Next slide. And so National Weather Service, NOAA, has a great website, heat.gov. Check it out. Next slide. Lots of great information related to heat exhaustion, heat stroke, and so on. Next slide. And it's a big campaign. It's so sad when a baby gets left in a car. Look before you lock, and also it goes for, pets as well. But the big campaign to make sure we don't lock any children in the car when there's lots of heat. Next slide. Tornadoes. Again, a great website by NOAA Weather Service. Next slide. And still lots of myths out there. Like we talk about tape. Don't use tape. Well, there's myths about, opening all your windows before a tornado, which is wrong. Downtown areas protected, which is wrong. Go under an underpass, which is wrong. So these myths, you want to make sure, again, that's education outreach, so we're not doing any of those things. Next slide. And where's the safest place to go? And the same thing, basically, hurricane or tornado, the lowest level interior safe room. Next slide. And for folks that get the big tornado, safe rooms. So there is information by FEMA that offers about safe room construction and what the options are if you want to have a safe room, built inside your home. Next slide. And of course, switching, I know some folks from up north that may be on the call today. Winter weather has its own hazards. Next slide. So National Weather Service, great website. Winter driving is a big deal because of accidents, injuries, and fatalities when there's bad weather, snow and sleet and ice. Next slide. So winter weather safety for seniors. You know how dangerous it is if a senior slips on ice and breaks his or her hip. We hear those stories all the time. Next slide. So vulnerable populations also have impacts from cold weather. Next slide. And space heater safety. We talk about generator safety. Well, there's space heater safety as well. So you don't cause a fire and damage as well. Next slide. And I was just out west a few weeks ago in Oregon, and I was intrigued by all the tsunami evacuation information along the coast of Oregon and along that beautiful coastal highway, showing when you're in a tsunami zone and when you're out of it, and all has to do with elevation. So lots of education there. But this next slide, I saw this sign in one of the local restaurants in Oregon. Next slide. Tsunami and survival instructions. Run like hell. Well, I thought that was amusing, but we all know we take it seriously and we got to get the high ground. Next slide. So partnerships I recommend. After looking at all this information, key partnerships, then many of you may already have these partnerships, but if you don't, look into making these with your local National Weather Service, your local emergency management, your local resilience office, your local university, your local TV meteorologist, and your local science museum. Next slide. And as I mentioned, your local Office of Resilience. In recent years, these have been created across the nation at the county and city level. Next slide. So program ideas, after what I've talked about in your library or in your hospital or wherever you may work, you can maybe have a CERT training workshop, maybe a hurricane or tornado safety seminar, winter storm safety, heat safety, or have your own little expo. Have vendors come to your own expo and have it for a couple of hours midday where you work, and so people can get all the information they need and look at vendors that provide things they need as well. Next slide. So more resources. We created a Spanish language hurricane website, huracanes.fiu.edu. So I'm currently updating it with the National Hurricane Center. So that's another tool in the toolbox. Next slide. And I put together a 12-part video series called Eye of the Storm. A lot of this information is there. You can, next slide, you can download it or watch them for free on the museum website or the EEI YouTube channel as well. Next slide. And as far as outreach, National Hurricane Center, this year they should be going back to their annual tour. They do 5 cities in 5 days in May. So look into, are they going to come to your city, and you can get involved with that education outreach day and come on out and come see the hurricane hunters. Next slide. And we do a program with our local baseball team here in Miami. It's called Steam Day at Marlins Park. Does your baseball team do something, or your local minor league team? And maybe it's an idea for an event. Next slide. And I just mentioned locally here in Homestead, Florida, south of Miami, there is a library. That's the new kind of library. They call it the Cybrarium. It's a one-of-a-kind public library that breaks the mold of traditional learning, offers an exciting blend of cutting-edge technology and service delivery. So located in Homestead, Florida. You can look them up, Cybrarium in Homestead, Florida. Next slide. Okay, that's what I have. I thank you very much for the opportunity, and at this time we can go over questions.
So feel free to put your questions in the chat, and I think we already have one, Eric, and it was, have you created a weather radio that works for the deaf hard of hearing, or one that shows text? Do you have one that you would recommend or know of?
So they are addressing that. The National Weather Service is looking into that. So I would go online, ask that same question. I know they've made different versions of the NOAA weather radio with screens, flashing lights. There is text that can appear on there, but they haven't forgotten about that. So check online and see what is out there. So there are some options.
Cool. I think Jane has her hand up. Jane, if you want to go ahead and unmute, you're more than welcome to.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Jane Canfield. I'm the now retired government documents librarian from Catholic University of Puerto Rico, although still very active, including in disaster weather planning in the community. This is just a comment. This was, Eric, absolutely wonderful webinar. I hope that we will get copies of it because it was great. I have just one comment and suggestion to make, that by when Hurricane Maria was about to hit us, at last absolute minute, I picked up off of my desk two things: a notebook that I keep of information of local phone numbers, how to contact FEMA, Spanish language education materials, and a USB drive on which I keep that information. That turned out to be one of the smartest things I've ever done. I would urge anyone who's in a hurricane zone, keep those kinds of materials on a separate USB drive. And I know in today's technological world, it sounds crazy. Print them and keep them physically, because after Hurricane Maria, there was no communication. Most of us no longer have landlines. We had no cell towers. That book and the information in it, once we were back at the university helping people, proved to be invaluable information. So that's just a comment of something that by accident I happened to do and get right, that I would like to pass on to other folks. So thanks.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for mentioning that.
And it looks like we have another question from Hannah. Space heaters. I didn't think it was a big deal. I didn't realize the fire risk was from it pulling too much current from the outlet, and the fire would be in my wall/outlet. Learn the hard way. So more of a comment, but definitely, I think I've heard that too, Hannah, as well with space heaters. They're so warm, and you never think, right? Like to expect the unexpected. And then Frank has a question as well. Which prediction model, in your experience, is the most reliable? I had a feeling that one was going to come up.
Right. No, great question. The quick answer is the National Hurricane Center official forecast. And here's what I mean by that. Yes, you see it talked about and displayed on television, local TV, the Weather Channel, the GFS American model, the European model, and now there's even an AI model. Well, guess what? The humans, the forecasters at the National Hurricane Center, still do better than the models. And I bring all that up to say that when there's an official forecast, 4 advisories come out of the day, the cone, the forecast cone, that's the model you need to focus on. They look at all the models, and then they take their experience as seasoned forecasters and know the idiosyncrasies, the strengths and weaknesses of models, the different atmospheric conditions that are occurring, the different times of the year, during the season, and they then come out with the official forecast. So a lot of people look at the models, and we all look at the models, but bottom line, when it comes down to the forecast, rely on what they have put out.
And it looks like we have another question. Do you have a recommendation for tracking air quality? Even in the Midwest, we often get forest fire smoke from Canada. I'd actually be curious about that one as well, Hannah.
Yeah, air quality is a big deal, especially with the smoke and the fires, yes, that we've had in Canada. I was just out in Oregon, and I know inland Oregon, there was some fire smoke there as well. So, and even in Midwest cities in New England had some air quality alerts. So that is handled in conjunction with the National Weather Service, local agencies, whether that be local EPA or other agencies within your community that will monitor that. National Weather Service will share that information, But starting with them first or contacting your local Office of Emergency Management they'll know who also monitors that specifically as well, and how best to get that information for your local community.
I think Christine just made a comment that's true with Everyday Local Weather. Our local meteorologist who has been in our area for over 25 years is more accurate than the prediction models. Yeah, I always turn on the news as well, and seeing a familiar face that's been in your community is always good to know, right?
Yeah, the TV meteorologists do a great job. That was my first career for many years, so I know TV weather. I know forecasting hurricanes, and as we look at the models, and we would show, as they say, the spaghetti models. The issue is not one model outperforms the other model consistently all the time. We wish there was just the one best model, and then we wouldn't need the rest of them. Then we wouldn't have a cone. We would just have a skinny black line, right? But the local meteorologists, if they've been there a long time with lots of experience, they pore over the data, and they're very critical in knowing the local effects. So when it comes to flooding rains, which neighborhoods will flood, storm surge, and taking that broad-based information from the Hurricane Center and then making it more specific for your local TV market. Very, very important. And as far as I've seen, the meteorologists that are out there are pretty much showing the National Hurricane Center official forecast. They will comment on it, but also advise everyone that things can change from advisory to advisory. The cone is a cone. There's a level of uncertainty. It's not an exact science quite yet. So they're there to help add that additional perspective, which is great.
Thanks for watching. This video was produced by the network of the National Library of Medicine. Select the circular channel icon to subscribe to our channel, or select a video thumbnail to watch another video from the channel.